You know, it's hard to believe, and yet it's not, that today we are in September of 2024. We're nearly a decade into this Trumpian fiasco. Donald Trump still does not understand how tariffs work. The, there was an interview done of Trump, and we're going to look at a couple of clips from it. And Trump was asked a pretty good question by the reporter, which is, these tariffs that you say you want to put in place, aren't they just going to be passed along? Therefore, it's just the American companies that suffer. The interviewer, who looks almost twice the size of Trump, it's pretty remarkable, asked a very good question. And Trump gives a mess of an answer, completely illiterate economically. Listen to this.
Those tariffs, won't they pass those along? If they passed a tax on golf memberships, you would probably at your resorts pass that along to your members, right? You wouldn't have
Not
just absorbed it.
It sort of depends on the market, not necessarily. You look like you might be a golfer, actually, but not really necessarily.
Not a good one, sir.
Not a good one. There aren't too many good ones around, I'll tell you. But no, not really. I think that you're going to find, and I think when we do it, and different countries also will be tariffed differently. There are some that make tremendous margins on us. We have countries, I won't go into it now, but we have countries that are
just as a little interjection. If you're confused, it's because this doesn't make any sense.
Charging us 200% and 250 and 300%, and we charge them nothing. And it's insane, and you just can't do it. And it's really not sustainable. It's not sustainable. There are certain countries that I'd rather not mention them now because I'll be mentioning them if and when we win, but they're going to have to pay up, and it's not going to have inflationary. If anything, it's going to go the opposite. We're going to be paying off debt because we have too much debt.
Okay, that is a mess of an answer. It's just like it's almost like a Jackson Pollock painting where you're just throwing stuff on the canvas, except you're actually pleased with the way the Pollock painting comes out, whereas this is just a completely abortive, economically illiterate mess. He still has no idea how tariffs work. And he actually has it's not even audacity, it's more like the ignorance to suggest that actually the tariffs that he's going to place on people are going to bring down prices of goods in the United States. Every single economic analysis of Trump's tariff plan says it's just going to generate inflation in the United States. Trump criticizing Biden inflation, even though it's come down dramatically and has been in a sustained way lower than that of other Western developed nations. His plan actually would generate more inflation. Now, there's a couple of reasons that you might use tariffs as a tool if they're well calibrated and well thought out. One of them is by putting tariffs, for example, on a Chinese good, you would encourage American companies that need that good to either go and get it from a different country to avoid the tariffs, therefore hurting China economically, which might be your goal. Or you would encourage the American company to get it domestically, get that good domestically, which is a fine idea. The problem with that idea, there's two or three different problems. Number one, from a practical perspective, it can take years, if not decades, to realign and restructure supply chains such that some of the things we've been getting from China for 40 years, we can now manufacture in the United States. So in the short and even medium term, you're just costing money to American companies, which they pass on to the consumers. The second sort of problem with the idea of doing this, in addition to it takes time to realign those supply chains, is that it will still cost more even when manufactured in the United States. Now, you could say, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with things costing more to manufacture domestically because I think it's good for the country. Totally legitimate position to take. The problem is that, and this is not a Republican or Democratic thing, for decades, our elected officials have decided implicitly that we would rather the cheap stuff from China. We, of course, we might not necessarily be best suited, but we could make the things we get from China in the United States. But everything would cost way more. And Americans would say, wait a second, I don't have more to pay for this stuff. I don't want to pay more for some of this Chinese stuff. So at the consumer level, Americans, even though we say, oh, what about bringing the jobs home? Sounds good. we don't actually want to pay the prices that would require. So Trump obviously clueless here, altogether clueless, but it's also important to remember that even if he weren't clueless, the idea is very much not in line with what Americans and our elected officials have decided we're going to do, which is we want to keep the prices down by going offshore. Now, Trump was also asked during this very weird interview, what would you say to an anti-Trump Republican? And there are many of them. What would you say to an anti-Trump Republican to get them to vote for you? Trump brings up China. It's really weird.
One last question, Mr. President. I know you have to go. If there was a Republican for Harris here in the room with us, what would you tell that person in terms of persuading them to vote for you as opposed to vote for Harris?
I probably wouldn't tell them anything, because usually it would be maybe a personality problem. Maybe they don't like the way I was tough on China. You know, a lot of them don't want me to be tough on China. A lot of them don't want me to be tough on anybody, because they're taken care of by people. You saw that. You saw that with Biden. He gets money from so many, his family gets money from so many different countries. And a lot of it's that. But for everyone they have, I have many. I have so many that have left the Democrats and they've come here. I mean, the governor of West Virginia, fantastic man, and Big Jim, I call him, he left the Democrats and he became a Republican, and now he's going to win the election. He's going to win very easily. So we have a lot of them, too.
Yeah, not really an answer, of course, but it should be noted that while President Trump's businesses received millions of dollars from China, I don't know that that's really a concern with Kamala Harris. So a bizarre interview, and it was a really, really bad weekend for Donald Trump. We're going to take a break, then I'll tell you more about it. Also, not a particularly good week for Jill Stein, not someone I typically talk about on the show, but I do want to talk about her a little bit. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, pushing forward to 3 million YouTube subscribers. We will take the quickest of breaks and continue.